Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about solutions. Solutions are not really well documented and they can be confusing, and it's a little complex to set one up, but it's perfect for using when you're deploying solutions on other environments, whether it be a Power App or a Power Automate. Now, the first two videos that I did, the ones covering how to use Power Automate to create a list or a library, is going to work in conjunction with this. Okay, solutions are kind of complicated, but they're not horrible. And what I learned about solutions is pieced together by multiple articles. Okay, I'll try to post some links in the description of some things that helped me build them, but it's a culmination of things, right? They don't really go over solutions very well. Okay, and where you're going to find solutions are in the Power Apps or Power Automate. You'll have it in the left pane. So I have Power Apps open up right here, and this is a solution. Now see, let me go back to the beginning here. So when you come in here, it's going to come to the home when you open up Power Apps through the app launcher right here. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to come down here where it says solutions right here, and you're going to open it up, and it's going to show all the solutions that you have in your environment at the time, at least ones you have access to. Okay, now you got two kinds of solutions. You got managed and unmanaged. Managed means once you set it up, there's no more changes. Okay, it's like a final product. Unmanaged is when it's still in draft form. Like if you're moving it from one environment to another, like to give it to somebody, you're going to make it unmanaged because of course they're going to want to change it, because I guarantee you, whatever you make is not exactly what they're going to need. Okay, or you can click on all, and it'll show all of them. As you can see, there's quite a few more. Okay, now the one I'm going to show you today is called ticket system. Okay, or ticketing system right here. I made this as a ticketing system, right? Where it's got two apps integrated into the solution, which is another advantage of having solutions. You can have one package for multiple Power App solutions. Like if you want to give every single solution you have to somebody, you can put it in a single file and send it to them, and it will, when they import the solution on their end, it's going to show all the apps individually in there. Okay, it's a zip file, so there you go. All right, but this one has two parts. Okay, the first part is the task side. They'll process it as a task, and then if it needs to be elevated to a project, I have another app called a Project Center, and it actually manages the project side of it. And of course, it's got like, I think, 5 flows and 9 data sources. You can package that up in a nice little pretty bow, for this, so to speak, with the zip file. Okay, so now if I open this up, you'll see that it has a lot of components in it. Okay, you got all these different categories here. Okay, you get your agents, you get your apps, your cards, your flows, your connection references, your environment variables, and your tables. Okay, so if you just want to deal with the apps, you click on apps, and there's my 2 apps I was telling you about. Okay, there's only 3 cloud flows. Okay, so I use 3 flows in here between the 2 apps. And then now the things you're probably not aware of are the connection references and the environment variables. Okay, first was talking about connection references. Connection references are used in Flow. Okay, anytime you connect to Outlook, anytime you connect to SharePoint, every time you connect with Entra ID, there's several. Anything that requires a connection to operate as an action requires a connection reference. Okay, in mine, I'm only using Entra ID, Office 365 users, and 2 SharePoint, because there's two different connection references within that I write to SharePoint. I think one's for the main list for the ticketing system, and then one is for the main, I think it's a library. No, it's a list in the Project Center. Okay, and then environment variables are everything else. Okay, this is probably the most important part of the thing, so that way you don't have to recreate anything. You're just mapping these items to it. Okay, you need an environment variable for each list or library that is involved in your app. And then I have a few extra, like this one here. This is a SharePoint. This points to a SharePoint group that is my listing of organizations. Okay. Um, you're going to have, if you're using multiple sites, each site's got to have its own environment variable. Each data source, list, or library needs to have its own data source. It's got to have its own environment variable. So later, what I'm going to do in the video is I'm going to show you how you set these up. Okay, you can either do it manually, or you can do it through Power Apps and Power Automate. When you create an environment variable within those apps, it'll automatically, when you save it, when you publish it and come out of it, it'll bring you back in here, and so be it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a new solution. So all you do, start out, is you're going to go up to new right here, hit the drop down. Nope, I'm sorry. I can get back out of here. We got to go back to solutions. And then at the top, you'll see new solution. Okay. Now, if someone's giving you a solution, you're going to use the import solution. But about the only two buttons you're going to use up top here before the solution's in there. So we're going to hit new solution. We're going to give it a name. So we'll call this video test 1. Okay. You'll see that the name under here will automatically trim it down so that way it's proper. Okay. In this case, it just removed the space, or the dash, I mean. Okay. Then you come down to, now, if you're fine with this, then go down to publisher. Now, if you already have a publisher already set up, you can select that one. But which should show you a list right here from your environment of all the publishers. Now, you can also make a new one by clicking here. Okay. And then, so if you hit this, you're going to enter your display name, which is the name, so just like the solution. Description, you could describe what this publisher does, and then you pick a prefix. It could be anything. You can put any letters. It's gonna put that prefix in front of all your environment variables, connection references, whatever. Right? It's just a way of labeling it. And then choice value prefix. It's just your starting number. Okay. And then you just hit create, and then you hit save. I have a publisher already in here, and I use this one. I use this one for work and for here for my personal stuff. So I use this one right here. And then, what's your starting version? Okay, I just leave the default there because that's fine. And if you hit more options, you got, a configuration page, if you have one, and then a description of that configuration page. But it's not required. Just these are. Ones that got the asterisk next to it, and then you hit create. Okay. What it'll do is it creates a blank solution, and then you can start working in it. This is the preferable way to start it, to do a solution. Okay. You can create a solution of stuff after the fact. That's why you got the add existing at top here. Okay. But it's advisable to start before you build your apps and your flows that are going to be in the solution, that you build the solution first and then add them from here. They load exactly the same way. Okay, so like if you want to create a new agent, you want to build Canvas app, mobile apps, pages, automation, you got cloud flows, custom connectors, data flows, desktop flow, and process action, business process flow, and workflow. So, and there's a lot in here. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them. Okay. Now, with my other thing, I had two apps and then a bunch of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a mock Power App. Okay, it ain't going to do anything. I just want to show you how the environment variable works. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go open up your Canvas app. We're going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Video App 1. Okay, we're going to make it a tablet and hit Create. Now, before you do anything, all solution apps need to have the environment variables turned on. By default, they're turned off. Okay, so you're going to have to go into Settings, and then you're going to scroll down to the bottom. You're going to see Automatically Create Environment Variables when adding data sources. You want to turn that on. Okay, now for this to take effect, you have to save it, close it, and reopen it. Okay, so we're going to hit OK. Close this. We're going to save and publish. It's going to create the initial file and publish it. Just remember, you have to publish to see it in the solution. Any changes. If you hit save, it's not going to show. At least on the play side. So, it takes about 30 seconds usually. Okay. I'm going to hit it one more time so I can publish. Okay, and then we're going to hit the back button here. Now you could just close the window if you wanted to, but I'm going to hit the back button and leave. So it properly closes it. Okay. Wonder why it didn't add it in. Oh, there it is. Originally, I guess my computer is just running a little slow. All right, so there's our app that we just created, and now we're going to go back into it. So we're going to go Edit. And when this loads, we're going to go ahead and add a data source. And you'll see what I mean by adding the data source. Now, if you use a site that is already got an environment variable set up for it, it will say, do you want to use the current one or create a new one? And you'll see that when the time comes. All right, so let's go into the data sources. We're going to add data. And we're going to go connections. And then I'm going to go to SharePoint. I'm going to add a SharePoint list as a data source. So I'm going to go to my dev site. And I'll add this one. Okay, data source. Connect. Now see what it did here? It's saying, okay, for the site, dev site, the site already has already exists in the environment variables. Do you want to use the existing one? So if you uncheck this box, it'll create another one. I strongly advise against that. You want to use one variable for site, because then if you create more than one, you ain't going to know which one the correct one is unless you match up the IDs, and it's a pain. Now, since the list has never had an environment variable created against it, it's going to create one automatically. So we're going to go ahead save. Okay, it's going to load it over here. Once it loads the data source, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save and close it. All right, let's go ahead back out of it again. And it should create an environment variable category in here once it sees what it does. And there it is. There's two environment variables, one for the site and one for the data source. And it'll do that. Now, if you add more data sources from the same site, it'll only have one site, and then the rest of them should be all listed library environment variables. Okay. And that's how that works. Other than that, the Canvas apps work exactly the same way. Okay. When you're using a solution app, there's literally no difference. You can't tell that from a regular one. Okay, so now we're going to do a Cloudflow. Okay, So we'll go to new. We're going to go to automation, cloud flow, and then we're going to make it instant flow. So now it's going to run the same wizard you do inside Power Automate. So let's create video test 1. Whoops, I can't spell. Flow. We're going to make it manually triggered for now and hit create. Now I'm going to add something that needs a connection. So we'll do Outlook. So we're going to add a step. We'll do send email. Oh wait, there's a space up there. Okay. Send an email v2. Okay. So if you look under connection here, see what it did? Instead of putting my name in there as a connection, it created a connection reference. Okay. And it did that automatically. So if I come in here and I'll just put my name stuff in here real quick. Subject, body. Okay. And then let's save it. Now, outside of a solution, if I hit the back button after saving, it's going to take me back to the detail screen. But if you're a solution, it's going to take you back to the solution. Okay. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Okay. So we hit back, and you'll see that it under the cloud flows right here. It shows your cloud flow. It should have made a connection reference. Interesting. All right, so we're going to go to details. Let's make sure that the connection reference is there. Now, sometimes it doesn't add it. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you just got to manually add it, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second. If that's the case, I just need to know what the number is. What I do is I look at these last 5 numbers right here. If not everything has a connection reference, you know, like if you're using variables and stuff like that, there's no connection reference for that. It's only for the connectors, like your Outlook, your SharePoint, Enter ID, groups. That's just a few of them. I know there's more. I just can't remember what the rest of them are. Okay, so A03C7. Okay, that's one that I had before in here, but it should have. See, you can tell right here it's in a solution 2 by this right here. Okay, now since this is one of the qualifying, you can run it as another user flow. The run only users things down at the bottom. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and go back. Go back to. Just trying to figure out why the connection reference isn't working. Okay, so what we can do is we can go here, go to other, and go to connection reference. This is how you add one if it doesn't make it automatically. Okay. Now this does this sometimes. You basically just got to X out of it and go back into it again. I've had it where I had to do this like 6 times before it actually showed anything. It's weird. No objects found. Come on. You're going to play nice? Let's back out and come back in. Maybe it just needs to be refreshed. Nope, still not showing anything. Let's try this. We're going to go back and edit. Shows our connection reference there. Change it to go back. Escape out of solutions here. I'm going to open up my ticking system. Come on, open. We're going to go back, and then we're going to go into our one-word making. See if it comes up. Nope, don't see it yet. Huh, that's odd. Okay, well, let's see if we can go ahead and add it. I'll try to add it, see if I can get this to come up. I know there's some in there, so I don't know why it's saying that there's no objects. Anyhow, there's your connection. That's how you create connection references through Flow. And you just build it out like you normally do. Now, once you're done setting this up, you get everything in here. Now, here's something you need to do with your flows though. You have to go in, and if you're referencing sites or anything that's encapsulated in the environment variables, you need to do that. Okay, so let's go back into our flow, and I'll show you how that's done. Now, we'll go to our cloud flow. We're going to edit our flow. Let's add in a SharePoint connection. Okay, so we'll just go SharePoint. And we'll do create file. That's a simple one. Now you'll see how you got site address. No, let's not do that one because that one's going to be a little more complicated. We'll do get items. Okay. So this has got a site. It's got a list name, and then you got your name and content, or I'm still thinking of create file. Sorry. It's got your site, your library, and then if you want to do an old data filter, you can here. So instead of putting a site name in here, you're going to put in what's called an environment variable. Okay. Since I already got my environment variable made for my site, that's not what I meant to do. You're going to come on the bottom, hit custom value, and you'll notice all my environment variables pop up now. Normally, you won't see those if you're outside of a solution. Okay. Now we're looking for the dev site. Okay, so scroll down here. There's a bunch in here, so dev site. Okay. Now you might want to compare the ID numbers once you get them in here to make sure they match up. Okay, so you get dev site right here, and you'll notice at the very end of all those numbers, the last 5 numbers should match what you have in your environment variables. Okay, and same thing for the list name. Now you'll notice, even though I'm using an environment variable, it shows the site it's currently showing right now. It's going to show those lists in library, or these lists. Okay, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go to custom value, and then we're going to look up data source. Okay, there's our data source list, and then of course you can put a filter in there if you want, but you need to do this on every one of your flows. So if you have a free existing flow, and so you may have to go through that flow and set up all these environment variables if they're referencing anything as a site, because they're not going to have access to your data sources, not normally. Okay, so you need to make sure you put them as environment variables, so when they create their data sources they're going to use for their app, they can compare them up. And I have another video that shows how to import a solution after you create your data sources and how you match them up. So I'll put that in the description as well. Okay, so that's how you got to do that with all your flows. Okay, and then once you're done, you save it. Once it saves, which it should. Now, lately, they've been giving a lot of warnings about using get items without putting a filter in there. But it'll still saved. It'll still save just the same. Okay, so let's back out of this. Really wish that connection reference would pop up, but that's okay. All right, so that's pretty much everything you need to know about getting into your or getting your solution set up. Okay. Now, at this point, once everything's been added and you're good and everything's good to go, now you're going to exit your solution, and now you're going to export it. Okay. And the way you do that is you either click the row and go up to the top here and hit export solution, or you can hit the ellipse in the line with it, which I prefer, and hit export solution. Now, it'll say before you export, publish all changes. Well, you did that already within the apps themselves, so you don't have to do this. I know on mine, if I do it, I always get an error, so I stopped doing that. So you hit next. Sorry, I'm a little tired today. You get to do you want to export it as a managed solution or an unmanaged solution? It doesn't matter what you have yours going currently. This export is going to change it to whatever you select here. Okay, I always make mine unmanaged because this is not a final solution. This is for somebody else. And you have the option to run the solution checker at the end if you want to make sure the export's good to go. I don't worry about it, so I just leave it unchecked. You're gonna hit export, and once this comes up, at the top you'll notice it's currently exporting solution. It's a gray bar, so it's hard to read because it's it's a gray background. There are different shades, but not by much. And it generally takes about a minute. What it's doing, it's building your zip file. And then once it's done compiling that, a little download button will appear, and the banner will turn green. So let's just stand by and wait for that. All right, okay. As soon as I said it, it finished. All right, so you'll see up here it says solution video 1 test exporting successfully. Now, it did export, but it didn't create your file yet. Okay, that's when you hit the download button over here, and that's what that does. Okay, you hit download, takes about 3 or 4 seconds, and it'll pop up with the file here. Now, Edge sometimes, if you use an Edge to do this, it's not going to give you the option to name it. Of course, you can name it once it's in the folder, but it just downloads it and puts it in the downloads folder for you. So if you hit the open button, of course it went on a different screen. Let me bring it back over here. This is your file right here that I just created. Okay. And then I have a folder set up in here where it's just, I call it Power Apps Templates, but I have a folder inside that folder called Solutions. And this is where I store all my solutions that I make. Okay. I make a folder for each one. Like if you look at Ticket System, actually what I've been starting to do, I must have made this a while ago, but I create a folder called Archive. And I've exported several files, right? But I only keep the current one out of the archive. So I grab all the files that are old and I drop them in the archive folder. I still hang on to them. They're just not active, right? They're usually failed attempts to make this thing work right. And then, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I have a video on how to make lists and how to make libraries. And like I said, you can do the combination of both in one flow. So this one here houses 9 lists. Okay, when I import this and run the flow, it creates my 9 lists for for this actual application. And then all I do with this is import it, which I'm not going to go through that because I have another video just for that. Okay, and that's it. You have created your solution, and then now you just got to email to people. Now, if you're on a DoD type tenant, which is military in nature, um, you're not going to be able to email a zip file. What you're going to have to do is use the safe.apps.mil site to move your files around. Um, Now, if you're in a civilian environment, like in a .com environment or whatever, then you might be able to. It all depends on how they got your Exchange set up, if it allows zip files. Easiest way to do is just share the file with somebody through an email, and they click on the link, and then they can download it from your OneDrive. That way, there's no possibility of the email being corrupted or whatever. So that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments below. If you have any suggestions on how I can make this video better, or if I missed anything, put it in the comments below. And and especially feedback. Okay, if you want to put feedback, if I did a good job, put it in the comments. If I did a bad job, that's fine. But please leave constructive criticism, not opinions. Okay. If I did a bad job, tell me how I could do it better. I'm doing this for you guys because I know this stuff's hard, and I want to make it easier for you. So, like I said, if you want to put some comments, put it in the comments below, and I do read them all, and I do respond to them, depending on, you know, if that's what you want. I can't think of anything else I need to tell. So, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, night, evening, morning, wherever you're at, and I'll see you next time.